day, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Motivational Talk. Well, this talk is supposed to stimulate you, to get you feeling good about yourself, get you understanding the options in life, and get you understanding that you should not give up. Every day is a day of an opportunity, and every day is a day as how you will make it. Today we're going to talk about the psychology of positivity. Like focusing on negative aspects of your life, whatever situation you might be in, is something that plagues us all the time. We keep thinking of, can I do this right? Am I worth it? Am I all that? Can I get this happen? We're all guilty of that at one point or the other. And therefore we can demean ourselves unconsciously and get ourselves to feel that we just can't do it. In this talk, I will demonstrate to you that you can live a life that is positive. You can live a life with an attitude that can help you to determine the outcome of a situation, rather than the situation determining the outcome of our attitudes. To many of us, we're not living our dreams because we're living our fears. Today, I want to help you to graduate from living your fears into living your dreams. Studies show that 75% of professional people are successful because they have a positive attitude to what they do. Positive attitude to their life, positive attitude to the work. People who focus on the positive aspects of things tend to achieve more in their professional strides than those who focus on negativity. Positivity is contagious. It helps you to understand that you can make people believe in themselves, and you can also make yourself believe in yourself. So what you do to inspire others is also going to help to influence you positively. Now listen, this refers to the tendency of being optimistic about your life. And it's actually contagious. So on the flip side, negativity can also be contagious. And this is a contrast to positivity. So remember, thinking negative about yourself, thinking that you're just gonna do it, makes you achieve less and makes you become less successful. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel. So if you're gonna have a positive externality on somebody, make it be something that is contagiously positive. Try not to have a negative externality and go more or less for positive externalities. How do you perceive your situation? Now tell me, I'm sure you've heard about this quite a lot. Do you consider glass to be half full or half empty? Now, your answer directly relates to your concept of positivity, your concept of positive thinking, whether you have a negative or positive outlook on life. If you consider glass half empty or half full, it's the same glass, but your reaction to it is quite different. Positive thinking plays an important role in positive psychology. That's a subset devoted to the study of what makes people feel happy and fulfilled. How happy are you? How confident are you in yourself? How determined are you to succeed? Remember, research has shown that positive thinking can aid stress management. It plays an important role in your health and in your well-being. Most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. That's what Abraham Lincoln said. So you can feel a positive attitude about yourself. Your style, how you view things, how you explain things, how you approach things. Your explanatory style is what helps you to manage events. People with an optimistic explanatory style tend to give themselves credit when good things happen, but typically we blame outside forces for bad outcomes. They also tend to see negative events as temporary and atypical. So remember, if you have a positive explanatory style, you're always going to give yourself credit. You're always going to make sure you see negative things as temporary, that you can overcome them. The troubles may come from time to time, but you've got confidence, you can see those through. On the other hand, people with a pessimistic explanatory style often blame themselves when bad things happen. They fail to give themselves adequate credit for successful outcomes. What explanatory style do you exude? A positive one or a negative one? Negative explanatory style or pessimistic explanatory styles always have a tendency to view negative events as though they're expected, as though they're lasting. They're perpetual pessimists. They're always like, well, I can't imagine I can do this stuff. But blame yourself for events outside your control. You can blame yourself for bad weather. Blame yourself for a hurricane coming when you were planning a picnic. It's like that. Negative externality exudes pessimistic explanatory style. Positive thinkers are more apt to use an optimistic explanatory style, but the way in which people attribute events can also vary depending on the exact situation. For example, a person who is a positive thinker might use a more pessimistic explanatory style in a particular challenging situation, such as a situation in work or in school. So there are times wherein the explanatory style is going to help you to get to the bottom line. Maybe at times you may want to be slightly pessimistic because people have a mixed bag of being positive and negative. But most times try to hinge on the scale of the positive side. Now and then you can swing and oscillate, but I can assure you that you, who are more of a positive person, has more tendencies to achieve. What about the perpetual pessimist? Pessimism is defined by the American Psychological Association as the attitude that things will go wrong and that people's wishes or aims are unlikely to be fulfilled. A person with a pessimistic personality tends towards a more negative, or should I say, maybe a more realistic view of life. Optimists, on the other hand, see things more positively. Look, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. And that is what you need to know. As a pessimist, you have to know that yes, you may not change the situation, but you may always expect negative outcomes, and that is what makes you always remain negative. Optimists expect good things to happen. They look for the silver lining when life doesn't go their way. That means even for the optimist, there will be times when life wouldn't go your way. Things may come crumbling down. But how do you make the best out of a bad situation? Now, pessimism is not always a trait that people aspire towards. It's often associated with negativity or hard life attitude, depression, or other mood disorders. At times it can also be psychological. However, a healthy dose of negative thinking isn't necessarily bad at all. While we're often told to smile, think of the bright side, make lemonade from lemons, that's not always practical, advisable, or healthy. In fact, sometimes a little pessimism might be actually a good thing. But how do you know if you're a perpetual pessimist or if you're a perpetual optimist? How can you tell if you tend to be more pessimistic? Now, here's some signs. You feel surprised when things work out. Wow, it happened. I didn't know I could do it. You don't go after what you want because you think you're going to fail. You always focus on what can go wrong in a situation. You think that the risks always outweigh the benefits. You experience imposter syndrome and undervalue activities. You undervalue yourself. You don't think you're worth it. You don't think you're all that. You tend to focus on your flaws, your weaknesses, rather than your strengths. You often feel annoyed by other people's sunny optimism. Often engage in negative self-talk, self-criticism all the time. You assume that all good things will come to an end eventually. And you find it easier to leave the status quo than change things for the better. Do not be afraid of life. Believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help you to create that fact. So if you're one who constantly berates yourself, constantly looks on the bad side, constantly is afraid to go on the cheap because you think you're going to fail, then you are a pessimist. Now let's look at the optimism and pessimism spectrum. Remember I said that you can be on the optimist side, feel good about yourself, you can be on the pessimist side, feel bad about yourself, but there is a spectrum, which means that there's a swing at times between the good feeling and the bad feeling. It's but natural. So the psychologists view pessimism and optimism as a spectrum, with each of our viewpoints and personalities situated somewhere along that spectrum. At either end of the spectrum, the pure pessimist may be miserable. At the other end, the pure optimist may be detached from reality. So in essence, most people lie somewhere in the middle of the pessimism and optimism spectrum. A person who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new. So remember, in order to try, you will fail. But if it's first you don't succeed, try again. Then the courage will be near. And if only you persevere to conquer even fear, try again. So we have to know that there is a spectrum for the pessimist and the optimist, and you can situate yourself somewhere, and you can make yourself gravitate towards that which is better for you between the two. But remember, you must not be stagnant in your point of view. Look, life can be a roller coaster. Everyone has ups and downs, anticlines and synclines. Some people think negatively, some people think more positively. Life has circumstances and the effects of time and experience can impact our realism, can impact our future situations, can impact our internal policy constraints. At times a bad break may make you become a pessimist. A bad break can make you see the good in the bad break and become an optimist. There are times we've got bad breaks and realize the bad breaks have worked out best for us in the end. At times we have what I call the pullback effect. When you're down and out, you're being pulled back. But just like a sling, you pull back the elastic and you release the projectile, and during the pullback you're getting ready for that launch. People are often more optimistic about one area of life and less optimistic about the other area. Maybe optimistic that you can get a job, but less optimistic about your ability to perform in the job. However, people's modes and thinking usually lean towards one end of the spectrum or the other, resulting in personalities that are more or less pessimistic or optimistic. Where would you like to be on the pessimism and optimism scale? Where would you like to be in the way you think about yourself? Where would you like to be in the way you can build up your own personality, build up your ability to do stuff, your ability to succeed? Where do you want to be? It's up to you to situate yourself in that spectrum where you think you will be. Now, everything has beauty in it, but not everyone can see the beauty. And you want to ask yourself, why can't I see it? Why am I finding all the beauty is in life? There are many reasons why people end up being negative. At times it's genetic. At times the family dynamics, where you live, where you grow. At times past experiences. At times social and environmental factors. All these factors can come in and impact on somebody's perception of life. What would I say to you? I'll say learn from history, learn from the bad experiences, and try to see the best of these things. Now, you may want to say, okay, how can I get to be a more positive person? How can I get to move away from being pessimistic to being optimistic? What's the power of positivity? How can I practice it? One, it's something that most people don't do. Talk to yourself or write a letter to yourself. Being comfortable with yourself, showing yourself some compassion, can make it easier to find, express, and receive positivity in yourself. Build your self-compassion. Try writing the letter to yourself and just telling yourself who you think you are, how much you appreciate yourself. Say nice things to yourself. Give yourself a break from anything that might make you feel like you're judging yourself. Talk to yourself. Write letters to yourself. Begin to hype yourself up to be positive. Secondly, we do what we call practice positive reappraisal. Although negative emotions are inevitable, we're going to get them, we can actually make them more tolerable by infusing in them some positive emotion. Positive reappraisal is an emotional regulation. It's a strategy that involves trying to reframe the situation to find the benefits and decrease the negative emotions from it. Now here's an example of a positive reappraisal activity. Let's take it like this. You go to work in the morning and your boss yells at you for no apparent reason. What do? That's a typical example of reappraisal. Now, let's take first a positive reappraisal. What do people say? Think about it for a second or two. Well, thanks for thinking about it. Now, let's look at some responses which you might have said, or which we've thought through. Your boss yells at you. You can possibly reappraise the situation by thinking, okay, now he yelled at me, okay, or she yelled at me. Now I know what I need to do differently in the future. I know what my boss wants, and I can now articulate myself better because my boss has yelled at me. I learned how not to treat others from my boss yelling at me. I felt bad about it, so maybe I won't yell at someone else because I don't like being yelled at. My boss had a chance to blow off steam, and now he will be less stressed for the day, or she will be less stressed for the day. I might be able to learn something new from what my boss said. I have the opportunity to self-reflect on positive reappraisals. Now I know my boss thinks this way, and I'll try to work towards what my boss thinks. I have the opportunity to stand up for myself and show courage. My boss is investing in my success, wants to see me succeed. I may also think it's a good time to practice patience, love, and wisdom. Because my boss yelled at me, that I compose myself. This is how ways I can positively reappraise a situation that looks otherwise negative. Now let's think. What would a negative reappraisal be? Or decreasing negativity, or getting negativity to grow in you? You might say, oh, well, my boss yelled at me. At least I have a job. My boss is having a bad day. Why does my boss pick on me all the time? My boss is cantankerous. Or my boss may be going through a real challenge. Like come on before I'm back. I'll me back again. These are the ways you can negatively appraise yourself, and you can try to be as negative as you want to be, but it's not going to solve any situation. But having a positive appraisal of a situation like that helps you to cope with it better and to manage it better, and also have to have a better attitude towards your boss, for instance. Next time you come across a situation, see if you can use positive appraisal in a situation to increase your positive emotions, or negative appraisal to decrease your negative emotions. What you achieve inwardly will change and demonstrate itself outwardly. Remember that. When you have a situation, learn to appraise it positively or negatively, and get on with life. Get on with it. Next thing you want to do is to practice gratitude. Gratitude journals are a good way to list all the good ways to grow positively. Just try to think of something you're grateful for the beautiful sunshine, for the rain, for good health, for the ability to have good friends, for the ability to talk, the ability to learn, and utilize this gratitude to make yourself more positive. Remember, practicing gratitude is a wonderful thing and a step towards inward gratification. The last one is try to do some positive meditation. Wake up in the morning, think about what you're going to do for the day. Think about the good things that you're going to achieve. Think about the targets you have set. Think about things that are bothering you and how you can solve them out. Have an attitude towards problem solving. Do some meditation on a daily basis and just have an introspective look at yourself and see how things are going around you. It's not always going to be good. At times it's going to be bad. At times you're going to say, what the heck, I want to give up. But in everything, there's a way in which you can find joy within yourself and try to do that. But having said all this, you want to ask yourself, when does positivity backfire? It turns out that forcing people into positivity can backfire. Some people are perpetual pessimists. For instance, putting a pessimist in a positive mood not only hurts the performance, it can also actually make them feel more anxious, because that's not them. People want to worry by nature. Remember I said some of the things that can contribute towards negative externality or pessimism is genetic. Sometimes we worry and all the negative outcomes don't help us, or they might help us. Also, suppression and other forms of emotional avoidance are not good for well-being. So if positivity doesn't feel right for you, or doesn't feel right in a specific way, then that's okay. If you're a perpetual pessimist, that's okay. That's who you are. That's who you want to be. But we're here today to motivate you to examine both sides of the spectrum and see where you think you want to fit. How can you boost your power of positivity? Sometimes you just need to open our minds and get ready to think more positively. Here are a few questions you want to ask yourself. What positive qualities do you have? Ask yourself. What strengths do I have? Ask yourself. What can you be grateful for? Ask yourself. What do you have to look forward to? Or what can you create or do that you can look forward to? Anticipate. Set your standards. Set your bandwidths and try to operate within that. And that gives you some excitement for the day. I know we say sometimes it's interrupting and difficult, but in every situation, look out for the way you can get a positive outcome. As I said before, if you're a perpetual pessimist, then that's where you're supposed to be. You might want to be there. But is this where you'll find happiness? Then it's up to you. But I believe that capitalizing on the power of positivity is the way you should go. If you want more positivity, you can build it. You can build on it. Just be sure not to force positivity when it doesn't feel right. The more you practice the skills of being positive, the more you can generate positivity. And I believe the happier you can become. To many of us, not living our dreams happens because we're living our fears. How long will you live in your fears? How long will you live locked into a tight spot or being afraid to take the next step? You never live your dreams as long as you live your fears. Remember, it's not the years of life you live, but the life in the years you live. Nothing is impossible. The word itself is spelled impossible. You have to make yourself excited, to make yourself exciting, to make yourself positive Exit a world of doldrums. Exit a world of negativity. Be more or less on the better side of the pessimism, optimism spectrum, for that's where you're supposed to be. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this week's Motivational Talk. See you next week, and God bless you. Adios, a bientôt.